Yeah, she's like,
she's a pro at this already.
Yeah, I can jump. Look at me. Look at me, guys.
Lydia's like the meta age of like 10, 15 minutes. Like we talk about meta age because people get the headset and they're like, okay, I just got to get in there and try to figure it out. So she's only in the meta age of like 10, 15 minutes probably.
she
Totally.
got
So
the
don't
hang
hit
of
my
it.
hands because I don't know what I'm doing.
No one does,
Well-
even if you've been in here for a while.
It's
she's
so
a huge
funny. Oh, I
fan
see
of
Dawn up there.
Yes, and she's a huge fan of flowers. She loves flowers. That's why she got this
Okay.
flower dress.
Nope. First of all, flowers are great, but this is not how I would have dressed myself. Thanks, Brian.
It's I'm gonna leave that up to Meta Olivia and moving forward.
Yeah.
Like you get the girls' avatars ready. I'll handle the guys. But Lydia, we're so happy to have you join us. We really are. Real quickly, as we get ready to get started, can you take about 30 seconds and just tell everybody a little bit about yourself and who you are?
Sure. So, hi, my name's Lydia. Obviously, he said we're in Nashville, Tennessee right now. I am a Christian songwriter and artist here. I also do music for other genres and sing as well. But a big part of my story and my testimony is talking about mental health and kind of giving a safe space for others who may have maybe even grown up in the church like I have, but didn't always feel like they could talk about that or be honest about that struggle. So that's a really big passion of mine, and I'm excited to talk about that a little bit tonight.
Yeah, well, and we're excited to have you come share because I think that is something that we kind of, especially in the Christian world, like as a Christian, we kind of hide that stuff and bury it, and especially I would love to get your insight too as an artist. Like, what is that like to be open about that? I mean, share a little bit with us about your story. Like, how did you come to the point where how did you know when you got to the point that you realized that you needed to reach out to somebody
To get help, you mean? For
To
that
get
kind
help?
of thing? Yeah.
or even bring it out
Yeah.
into the public, like to let it be known? Because I'm
To be
I'm
an
sure that had to be
advocate.
difficult. Yeah.
Sure. I'll try to think. I don't know of the exact time. I mean, growing up, I'm one of 10 kids. I grew up in an incredible Christian home.
Whoa.
I know.
10
What?
kids.
You may not have known that.
We got another
Whoa.
whole story here, right here.
Yeah,
I know.
seriously. Where are you
I'm
at in the
literally-
line?
I'm number 7. So there's 3 boys,
Whoa.
7 girls. Yep.
Okay, so
Crazy.
does anybody here have more than does you guys' family have more than 10 kids? I would like to
There's
know
no
that.
way. Absolutely
Okay.
no way.
How many people here have scissors? How many does scissors have? Let's see. Hold on, I'm gonna go in here because I don't think we can hear. So I'm gonna go in here and hear what she says. How many? Whoa, her grandmother had 18 kids.
What?
18. Whoa, that's insane.
That's crazy.
Oh my gosh. Wow, thank you for sharing that. Wow, 18 kids. That's yeah. All right. I don't know.
Okay, fine. You beat me. Whatever.
Hey, we
Well, I
get
didn't know.
confetti for her grandmother. That's for
18
sure. 18
children.
kids. Woo. All right.
Incredible. Wow.
All right. So I just rabbit trailed because
That's hilarious.
Lydia doesn't know this. I'll let everybody know when we're live on a show, we can't hear you unless we come down. That's usually why we have the Q&A time. So that's why I came down to the audience so we could hear what you were saying. So we'll just kind of have to flow that way with it during Q&A time. But go ahead. Go ahead and
Sure.
continue with your story.
Yeah. So I was just going to say, so I grew up in an incredible Christian home. My dad was a pastor. We were missionaries in Romania for a couple years. Like since I could walk and talk, I was hearing about Jesus. And so when I struggled with panic attacks in middle school, and then as I continued growing up, anxiety, depression, I always thought that maybe it was just something wrong with me and my faith. And then it wasn't until my early 20s that I started going to counseling and I realized, no, it's not about me not praying enough or being in the word enough. Sometimes because we live in a broken world and we can get sick, our brains sometimes can use extra help too. And it's not a very black and white thing where you can just do a one size fits all. You know, there's a lot that goes into mental health and mental illness and situational things, physical things, medical, spiritual, but realizing that it's okay to talk about it and be honest about it and even use the tools that God's given us is a very freeing thing, because growing up, I didn't always let myself feel free. I almost felt shame. And the more you realize, well, wait, God's not a God of shame, the more you are set free to go, oh, I can just figure this out. I can use tools, and there's no condemnation that I battle these things.
So, excuse me. When did you how did you first start realizing that maybe there was something else going on, like with that, like it was okay to talk about it?
Yeah, it probably was after going to counselors. Well, actually, no,
Yeah.
I can actually remember it. I was 22 at the time, and had just moved to Nashville and was pursuing music. I was away from my family for the first time, and I deal with pretty seasonal depression. So when it starts to get cold or dark or whatever, I oftentimes will find myself getting very depressed, low energy, that kind of thing.
Mm.
And I remember trying my best to deal with it only spiritually. I was praying, I was in the Word. I felt like such a failure as a Christian because I thought, why am I still battling depression if I'm a Christian? Am I just a bad Christian? And then I remember going to a doctor. I was going to counseling, but I went to a doctor friend of mine, and I just cried to her, and I said, her name was Jerry Ann. I said, Jerry Ann, I don't understand, like, why as a believer do I battle this? And she said, honey, sometimes our brain just needs a little extra help, and that's okay. We live in a broken world, and it affects a lot of different aspects. And I think sometimes we almost, we can be very performance based as Christians. And even though we subconsciously, like, we believe we're saved by grace through faith, right? It's not of ourselves. We still are kind of trying to earn it and trying to make sure we are a good Christian. And I think we have a lot of fear attached to sometimes using tools that God actually is not saying we can't use. So for me, it was counseling. It was talking to my oldest brother. He took me on a fishing trip once and was like, hey, just so you know, I've never told you, but I've battled depression for years and I've been taking medication. And like hearing that he took medication, it was like, oh my gosh, you mean it's not a sin to get help from a doctor? So I think it was a journey for me. It was a journey for me. And I think through a lot of that, the Lord just taught me that a lot of my lack of freedom to try different things and to be open about this kind of was directly correlated to my misunderstanding of the gospel, that the gospel sets free. It doesn't condemn, it doesn't shame you, and that God loves you and he's with you in it. And he doesn't want you to walk through these battles alone.
That's good. That's really good. Does anybody else ever say have felt shame before in your life? I mean, maybe you feel these kind of ways. Like, yeah, Don, I see you raising your hand. Lydia, I'll tell you, we were originally from Ohio, and we moved to Florida back in 2013. And in 2016, towards the end of 2016, we knew we were being drawn to move back to Ohio, which we did not want to do. And it was actually a very interesting time for me too, because we moved back after living in sunny Florida. It's sunshine all the time. And I got back, and I always like to go outside and hike and spend time outside. And when I got back to Ohio during the wintertime, I got really depressed. I didn't know what was going on. And I reached out to a friend, a really dear friend of mine from Florida. And I said, man, I don't know what's going on. Like, I'm just not happy. I just feel down. Like, I don't want to do anything. And he told me, he's like, Brian, you're used to being out and doing things. Like, now you're stuck, and it's cold out. Everything's gray. He's like, I think you might be struggling with some depression, and that's normal. I mean, that's understanding from that change of life. But it is. I think for myself, I can feel ashamed because you feel like you should be doing better. You should be better than that, right? But we're just humans, so we do battle with those things. I'd like to ask you, Olivia, do you have any questions for Lydia right now?
Yeah, Lydia. So I know that you started talking about going to counseling, but what led you up to actually realizing, like, hey, I really need to get into counseling? Like, what got you to that point?
Man, I'm honestly not 100% sure. I think it was after I moved to Nashville, so I was away from my family, and I think I was just experiencing so many things for the first time and trying to really ground myself. And in my family, we didn't really talk much about depression or mental health things, and quite a few people in my family have battled. There have even been a few people who had suicide attempts, but it's always, it's not that my parents are incredible people, but it's one of those things that's uncomfortable to always talk about, and I think when I moved to Nashville and I'm, figuring all these things out by myself, I remember hitting a point where at the time I was a part-time nanny, and I would play with the kids all day, and I would leave the house with such an empty, depressed feeling. I just felt hopeless. And I thought, something's not right. Like, something is just not right. I have to get help. And I'm not I think it may have been my oldest brother. I went back to Texas so depressed and feeling so ashamed that something was wrong with me, that I was depressed as a Christian. And he took me fishing, and he said, Lyd, he said, I feel like you're just living in this very performance-based view of God's love for you. Like, you think that you have to not be depressed. You have to be happy. You have to, all these things.
Right.
And he said, I'm gonna give you a statement, and you tell me if it's true or not. And he said, I am worthless without Jesus. And I said, well, yeah, of course, that's true. He said, well, what about this? I am worthy because of Jesus. And I said, well, yeah, that's true too. And he said, okay, well, where are you putting your emphasis really matters. If we're constantly living in the fact that I'm never enough versus, oh, because of Jesus, I am more than a conqueror. I am free. And not only that, but Jesus gives me freedom to seek out tools and help. He knows this world's hard. Like, that kind of gave me freedom. And then hearing my own brother, who I admire so much, who's a worship pastor in Texas, say, I'm in counseling. It made me go, oh, you are? So I can go? Like, I'm not a messed up Christian if I go get help. And I'm still in counseling today, guys. I think we all need it if we can get it, and we can also find it in just community sometimes, mentorship, church, but it's just so important to never walk through anything alone.
Absolutely.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's really good. That's really good. The what would you say to someone that's actually struggling and feeling embarrassed, that might be going through the same stuff? Like, what would you say to somebody?
I would say something that my dad told me a long time ago. Once, when I just was dealing with a lot of shame, I went and just told my dad all the stuff I was struggling with. And he said, honey, if you could see the skeletons in everybody's closet, you'd be amazed. The fact is, we all look at each other and we only see surface level oftentimes, but everybody's fighting a battle. We all know that quote, like, everyone's fighting a battle that you don't know about. So be kind to them,
Yeah.
I think that there's so much, scripture talks about when you bring what's in the dark into the light, there's so much freedom. And now, that's not to say we're all in different places in our journeys. So not everybody's a safe person to go to with your struggle. Sadly, there was a time when I wasn't. I remember mentoring a young girl years and years ago before I went to counseling myself. And she told me she was on antidepressants, and I wasn't free. And so I felt like, oh, that's a sin, which I laugh thinking that now because I'm on antidepressants. But I remember telling her, oh, well, you just need to be in the word more. You need to be praying more, all these things. I wasn't a safe person for her because I wasn't in a place on my own journey where I had freedom there. I was living a very legalistic version of the gospel where I was afraid to fail God. And we don't have to live like that. There's no condemnation for us. So I think if you're in that place where, like, oh, I don't know who to go to, well, you go to somebody, you go to a counselor, or you go to a pastor, or you go to somebody where you feel like this is a safe place, and you just be honest. Because the fact is, we all struggle. And if we saw the worst of each other, we'd probably be like, oh my gosh, you too? C.S. Lewis, he's my favorite author. And he says, like, friendship is born when you look at someone else and you go, you too? I thought I was the only one. And I think the fact is, with mental health, depression, anxiety, panic attacks, bipolar, all these things, a lot of us battle with these things. And we think we're the only one. So Satan keeps us in private, but there's freedom when we come out into the light. So it's time to do that.
Oh, wow. That's
absolutely.
good. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's really powerful because it talks about in the scriptures, like, when we are weak, he is strong. It's being vulnerable to share that. And when you're open to come and talk about this, I was really excited about it because I think, in here in Horizons, we've met a lot of people that have come up and been very open about the struggles they're going with. And I feel like people feel like coming into the virtual world is a safe place because, they're behind an avatar. They're a little bit, more open and be vulnerable, but people are really building good relationships in here, and people really care for each other. And I'm so grateful for that. And I would ask you this, let's spin around a little bit. That we do digital, and how many people here is on social media? How many people here is on social media? Okay. Yeah. So yeah, we see, yep, everybody's on social media. So, and I would say that's probably one of the worst places for seeing only the highlights of people's lives, right? That's what we can very easily look at other people and say, man, if I could just be like more like Lydia, or if I could be more like Olivia, I would have it so much more together. But we live that off of highlights. And one of the things that we've been talking about, and maybe you can give us some insight on this at Killer Bee, is we're trying to process how do we leave digital better than we found it? Because digital itself has become a huge what's the right word, Meta Olivia? It's like it's kind of fed the mental health issues that people have with depression, anxiety, comparison. Like, what are some things that you would say we should do? We should be thinking about each one of us here when we approach these social media platforms. How can we approach it to leave it better than we found it?
Sure. Well, I think first of all, you have to deal with everything in your own sphere first. So it's like for myself, I have to be responsible for my own intake and for my own what I'm processing, comparing all these things before I can pour out to others, right? So it's like anything. God gave us food and it's wonderful, but in bad context, when you're overeating because you're depressed, it's not good for you anymore, right? So I think social media and digital is very similar. It's like these are great tools, especially, I love Jesus. I love sharing about the love of Jesus. For me, it's great. I want to tell everybody about him, right? So this is a great opportunity for that. However, it's really important that we are responsible for our own mental health sometimes. So like this isn't healthy for me, I mute an account, or I don't follow this, or I take a break. Recently, I took a couple weeks off because my, the season started changing. I was dealing with some depression. I thought, you know what? I'm going to check out for a second. As an artist, it's hard to check off of social media, but I needed to for a couple weeks. So I did. So I think being responsible for your own well-being, that's going to have a ripple effect in the way that you kind of transact with other people, but also being honest. Obviously we don't put all of our dirty laundry out for the whole world because it's not super safe, but like saying, if I just take a selfie and I'm smiling and happy all the time and everything looks great, but then as soon as I put my phone down, I'm crying at home dealing with something, like that's not super fair because it's giving a false image. So I think the big thing is, how can you be honest on a screen and in real life? And if you can do that in a loving way that's encouraging to others, I think it's important. And being really aware of everybody, we don't always realize, but people are always watching. People are always watching. And so what you say matters. It's impacting others. Encourage people, speak life. Don't hold up a fake thing that's not attainable, because it's all these people are using apps to change their bodies, their faces, their whatever. Like, sure, filters, they're fun. That's great. But like, let's at least try to be real in some capacity. That way people don't feel like they can never meet this measure,
Yeah. So that, let me ask you this. You said, what you say matters. How about for the times when maybe we choose not to say something because we're just doing social just to post about ourselves, but we're not actually responding to other people. Is sometimes not saying anything just as bad?
Just as bad? You mean like if you should be speaking up?
Yeah, well, not even like speaking up, but let's say like, okay, you as an artist, if you're putting stuff out on social media, it can be all about promoting you and promoting you. But then if people are writing comments and you don't engage back with them, what does that say to them? Like, so.
Oh yeah. I think it's super important to engage with, but I think you have to be honest. It's like, it's community still. It's still a form of community. And I don't think, obviously you can't always keep up with every comment every day, but I try because I love my people. So people who are engaging with me, I want to engage with them,
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Well, that's something that I've been trying to pay more attention to as well, especially on digital, because it's easy to get in the mindset. It's like, okay, I'm going to post things that's going on in my life, but then you have people that actually take time to respond and write something on your post, but then like you just give them a like or something. I'm like, well, I started asking myself, like, well, am I really showing them that I value, they took their time to write a comment on my post? Like, how do I show them value back? I spend time, right, to them, have communication, right? Communication should be a dialogue, not a monologue. And that's what friends do. Friends talk to each other. Olivia, did you have something you want to share?
No. Yeah.
Okay, I saw your lips moving, so I don't know. Your headset picks up other noises, so your mouth was moving. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Whoops.
Well, I'll tell you what we're gonna do here. So I know our Q&A is gonna be a little bit different. Usually we'd bring a mic down so you guys could ask questions. So here's what we're gonna do. I am going to. All right, Lydia, are you good with walking? Can you move your left joystick like this?
Let's see. Woohoo!
All All right.
Sorry.
All right.
This
So
is so
if
funny.
anybody has a question, here's what we're going to do. If you want to raise your hand, me and Lydia are going to come down so we can hear you. And then we'll kind of repeat your questions so everybody can hear. So does anybody have a question that they would like to ask Lydia?
Dawn.
Any question? Dawn? Okay. So Lydia, if you want to follow me down here to the stairs, it should let you come down. Okay. Here to Dawn. And Dawn, go
I
ahead.
really gotta look at a YouTube video so I can figure out how to build these worlds.
So Dawn, are you? Oh, I think you're in a party. You must be in a party because we can't hear you talk.
I can't hear her.
She's in a party. She should be off in just a second.
No,
Can you
like
hear
for
me now?
real.
Yep, we got
Yes.
you. All right,
Okay,
go right
cool.
ahead.
So my question's kind of a twofer. I know that a big outlet for you is your music because that's very evident in your music. So my first question, but first part of the question is, where's your favorite place to write? Where's your comfort zone to write? And then the other part of that is, do you have any other creative outlets other than music?
Yeah. So Brian, do you want me to repeat the question?
No, did you hear that? Did everybody hear her question? Yep. Okay. Yeah, you're good. You can go ahead and answer it.
Awesome. Okay. So my favorite place to write, is that what the first part of the question was?
Yep.
I mean, I'm a big journaler, so it's oftentimes it's during my quiet times, or I have a really badly tuned piano at home, and I a lot of times will just be in prayer, and literally just what I'm feeling comes out. And so when it's me writing on my own, it's it's just random. It's at home, it's in the car, it's wherever I'm feeling, And other creative outlets, again, like I write music, but I journal, I blog, I've always thought about writing a book. I love to write.
That would be
Writing is a
awesome.
huge.
You should
Oh my
write a
gosh,
book.
I just love it. I don't know. I'd be scared, but thank you. I think it'd be fun. But also cooking. I love cooking. Anything. I think most creatives are like anything that feels like you're all in. So like you're
Yeah.
using your hands. You're using. I love things
Yeah.
like that.
Awesome.
Well,
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Dawn.
You're
Does anybody else
awesome,
have
Don.
a question? Anybody else want to? If anybody else has a question, raise your hand, and we'll come over to you, and we can go from there. No. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and head back on up. We'll head back on up. Lydia, if you
B.
come up the stairs right here.
I'm gonna
Thanks.
reboot live mode because it turned off.
Oh, did it? Okay. All right.
Your intro music.
Oh no, don't worry about it. Don't worry about
See-
the live. Can you guys hear us?
Brian,
right
we can
here?
hardly hear you.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead and hit the live. So there's gonna be some intro
Yeah.
music because we got to get the
Hello,
live
Meta friends.
back on. So you guys
It's
can hear
me,
us. So
Meta Freeman.
here's the intro
Not to
music
be
again.
confused with the Morgan Freeman from Earth
All
One.
right.
As I
see.
prepare
Oh, wait a
the
minute. Oh, I got
intro,
there we go.
iPads.
please refrain
iPads are
from
back.
breaking the studio
right.
rules. Meta
Can you guys hear me right now?
is
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
and
Horizon
little
must have just pushed
uncomfortable,
something through.
even for
So let me let you
avatars
guys know.
with no
If you guys
legs.
have any questions,
grab
go
a
back and
seat
click the
and
screen on
enjoy
this
today's
kiosk,
show
and we can bring you
from
guys
the
up to the
Killer
stage
Bee
now, and you
Studio.
guys can ask your questions. I'm just gonna drop the mic so we're ready when that time comes. All right. All right. So we're good now. Okay. Cool. All right. We'll do this music. All right. All right. You guys can hear us. Okay. Cool. All right. Yeah, that's such a weird little glitch there. All right. So we have control again now. All right. So
I do.
let's
have
get
a
back on
over
topic
again.
now. Yes. Go right ahead. Go ahead, Olivia.
Okay, so Lydia, now that you've
Oh, we're all muted
been
anyway.
down the road a little bit with counseling and all of that, if that same girl had come back to you now, how would you approach her? What would you say differently than you did when she first came to you?
So actually, if I'm remembering correctly, when I started going to counseling myself, I gave her a call and I
Oh,
told her, hey,
wow.
yeah,
That's
hey, I was
awesome.
wrong. And I'm,
Wow.
we're all on this journey. Yeah. For sure. I would say Tim Keller is one of my favorite preachers, and he's got a sermon
Yeah.
titled A Still Small Voice, where he talks about Elisha when he was dealing with, he basically was like, God, kill me now kind of thing. And he talks about how mental health can be spiritual, physical, and medical. And I think that listening to that sermon and working through a lot of things myself, realizing it's not a one size fits all, and realizing that God is a God of grace upon grace. Like, and if you don't know the heart of God, it's just that he loves us so much and he gives us so much freedom and so much mercy. If you're walking around on like eggshells thinking God's going to be mad at you, that's not how he works. And that's how that's what I was operating in at the time.
Yeah. That's that's really great that you actually went and called her back. Like that's huge. I think that's so cool. And also I feel like when you work through things, your mind is more clear to be able to talk about Jesus more with people versus, when you're in your kind of depressed mode, or I have tremendous anxiety and all of that. So I feel like counseling is such a blessing that
Oh yeah.
a lot of people are missing out on. It's tough work. There's no lie about that, like for
Oh, yeah.
sure.
No questions for you?
So I'm going to ask
Absolutely.
you, are you going to have to go through more counseling because I made you wear that flower shirt?
Yeah, I've been looking at this and I've been thinking I need to like double up my counseling time because this is just too much for me. I'm just kidding.
This is too much. This is too much. Too much.
Like these are so flowery. Am I in Hawaii right now on vacation in my 50s? I just
You wouldn't
I
even
don't
wear that
understand.
in
In your 50s,
Hawaii.
that's hilarious.
I don't know. It just feels like this is what I would wear if I was there.
That's what happens when a
Oh my gosh.
50-year-old man dresses you, right?
Oh, whoa, wait a minute here. Like, we got our son got to hit the wah button up here. Like, that's not
No,
even
that was
funny.
a
No, I need-
that was a good
So-
one.
So can you give me some directions to a good counselor? Because after I have to listen to Meta Olivia rip me apart,
Oh my
you
gosh.
might need to no. But truthfully, like when it comes to going through, we laugh and joke around about some of this stuff, but it is a serious thing. And what are some outlets that do you know of any outlets that people should be seeking out help? If where should they go? Any ideas? Thoughts? I know you said pastors.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't think every church, I don't know how to phrase this exactly. I think we're still learning in the church right now how to talk about this subject. A lot of churches are doing it really well, but some of them aren't.
Mhm.
And there's grace for that. Like I said, we're all in different places on our journey. And God reveals in his timing different things to each of us. But there are a lot of churches in Nashville where they have great counseling programs. If you have a church like that you can reach out to, then do it. If not, there's something called NAMI. It's National Association of Mental Illness, and it's nationwide. And there's always local chapters wherever you live. And there are groups that meet. There are all kinds of tools. It's really, really neat. There's just so many different options and tools for mental health. Obviously, there's the new suicide helpline, I think it's 988. There's all these things. So the biggest thing is like, there's no end of tools. Just don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to be like, hey, like one of the sayings, I think it's the Mental Health Coalition. They say, fight in the open. Stop fighting the battle in private. Just be willing to say, hey, I need some help. I post all the time. Hey guys, a few weeks ago, I was having a real hard mental health week. Can y'all pray for me? This is a rough depression week. Or even panic attacks. Like, I perform and it's laughable. I'm like, God, really? Because I have such severe anxiety that, Olivia, you'd probably get it. Like before I get on a stage, I will get sick to my stomach. Like I will almost have a panic attack. And I have learned little tools, breathing tools, different things, or just saying, all right, Lord, here it goes again. If I embarrass myself, I embarrass myself. I don't love doing this, but I know that I love what the outcome is. I know that you're using this. And it's amazing. It's kind of like Moses. I feel like God asked Moses to do something. Moses was like, are you sure I have like a stutter problem or whatever? He's like, no, you're the one who's going to do it. Like we're all kind of a mess, and God likes to use messy people, because if he didn't, nobody would be usable. So I think just being honest, being open with safe people. We're all probably from different places. So I wish I could tell you my counselor's name, but most likely you're not here. So finding a local counselor, it's not always a one size fits all. Sometimes you have to shop around, find somebody who's the best fit for you. I've had to do that myself. And now I'm with somebody who's fantastic, and it's been such a blessing to me. But yeah, community, church, eating healthy, talking to doctors, going to counselors, all these things are important.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so everything is back up and working. I noticed everything. We have the points and everything. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull this contest lever, and that's going to give everybody points for being here during the show. So, and then whoever's name shows up here at the top is going to get an extra 25 points. All right.
Please,
So let's see whose name we get up here.
Please me.
I hear
Me
people out there
him.
saying, please me, please me. VR fun
VR
is VR
fun.
fun. All right, VR fun.
Yeah.
So VR fun. We're gonna do something. Let's see if this works. We have never
You
done
gonna make
this
him
VR
sing a
fun.
song?
Okay, I'm
We have
turning it
never
off.
done this. But this is. Let's see what happens here. I'm trying to find your name. There's a lot of names in here. VR fun. All right, VR fun. I'm gonna add you as a guest. So you should be able to come on up here to the stage if you want to come on up. And here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go grab the Wackabee stick. So if you can come up here, come right over by Lydia. If you come right over by Lydia, I'll be right back. I'm gonna grab this.
Hi.
Hello.
I'm gonna grab this Wackabee stick. Now, this is where
What
the
is
Wackabee
happening?
stick. All right, I'm gonna drop this. I want you to grab this with your trigger. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and drop it. Oh, let me. That was tricky.
Under
Okay.
the couch.
All
There we
right.
go.
So what I want you to do is come back here and whack this bee. Come
What
back
in
here
the
and whack this
world?
bee, and that's gonna give you 25 points. There you
Whoa.
go.
Wow, yay.
So there you go. You got 25 points, and thank you for coming out here. That was great. I'm gonna remove you, so
Great
now you're gonna
job.
teleport back
You're
out
welcome.
there. Yeah, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
So that's a new thing we just added, so we could do that. But now everybody, you guys all got 10 points just for me pulling that lever and you guys being present. And if you hang out, we're gonna wrap this up here in just a minute. And I don't know, what do you feel about doing like a little sample? You feel good with that? Like
Oh,
little
a
sample-
song?
Yeah, like a little sample of a song. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I don't have any music with me. Do y'all want to hear just my voice?
Yes.
I don't know what's
Yvonne-
doing out here.
Whoa, Yvonne is
She
doing
is
splits.
tripping out. I don't know if you can see yourself, but it was crazy.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Do y'all want to
All
hear?
right.
Do you want to hear a specific one, or would you like to hear something I just wrote?
Ooh, something looks like somebody just wrote. Who confetti for something she just wrote. All right,
Okay.
I see confetti. All right. Okay. Or
Okay, but I literally have not even performed this or anything, so I'm probably gonna mess up, and it's gonna be very slow and boring because I don't have piano. But you're sure
This is-
confetti?
confetti?
Yes.
All right,
Yeah. All right.
all right.
Killer Bee
Are you ready?
exclusive right here.
Yeah,
All right.
Killer Bee.
I know.
We're ready.
I have to make sure I remember the words because I just wrote this. I
So
wrote
that's
it a
the
few
great
weeks
thing,
ago.
We
Okay.
won't know. We won't know if you mess it up, right? Because we
I'll
never
make
know.
it up
Yeah.
as I go. Okay, I'll just do it. Let me do
Alright.
like a verse and a chorus. I'll see if I can get to the chorus because I probably will start the wrong key.
Okay.
But it's okay. Here it goes. When I need peace that passes understanding, loving arms to take me in, to hold me up when I can't stand, He is. When I need safety in the darkest places, healing when my heart is breaking, when it seems like there's no other way, He is. There's not a need Jehovah doesn't meet. El Shaddai, Emmanuel with me. And then I may have started it too high, but let me try the chorus.
That's good.
So it goes,
Yeah, that was amazing.
promise, keeper, helper, healer. Only one word and demons shake. That's just the power of your name, Jesus, mighty, strong when I'm weak. All of my hope amounts to this. He said I am and He is.
Woo! That was amazing.
Wow, wow.
What do we think? Do we
wow.
like it?
Love
You guys
it.
like Yeah. Wow. Wow. Thank you so much, Lee. Thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah.
Like she did not have to do that, you guys. So yes, give her a confetti
Winging
again
it.
one more time. Wasn't that amazing?
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks.
So Lydia, you have really impressed us. You really set the bar for the people, the guests that
So
come in here
high.
only have a few minutes, right, to prepare. You really have set the bar.
You're so sweet.
Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go ahead and wrap up after the outro music goes, because you guys know if you don't know, we actually record these stories for a podcast, and you can find that podcast. Just look up The Stories We Live on Apple Podcast, or the quickest way, just look up Killer Bee Studios. You'll see it. It's got the go ahead.